Okay, let's start. Thank you, everyone. I'm Cardella. Welcome to another virtual activity organized by the International Women Entrepreneur Society, powered by RSVP Events Management. Today, Nataliya Wiedemeyer will be leading a virtual discussion forum about how to make the most out of human interaction when connecting only virtually. Nataliya Wiedemeyer is the founder of Graviteams, a virtual collaboration consultant, project manager, a trainer, and a speaker. She is dedicated to promoting transformational leadership style and collaborative teamwork, to empowering entrepreneurial spirit and evoking intrinsic motivation in young individuals for personal growth and professional development. Nataliya will be introducing another two of the successful women entrepreneurs and women empowerment ambassadors as her panelists. Please welcome Nataliya Wiedemeyer. Hope.
Everything's great. Thank you, Cardella, so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here and introducing me today. And I'm quite new to this network, this group. So it's a great pleasure to join and to connect with you and be part of it. And today we have two panelists, two girls panelists, women panelists with us. It's Cheryl Chatley, and she is an accomplished and result-oriented professional with 16 years of progressive experience in different senior HR leadership positions across different industries, and around 14 years in the Middle East. And she's passionate about strategic as well as operational human resource management across different industries. And she's an advocate of fearless leadership with awareness, passion, reflection, and purpose. Welcome, Charul, and you are founder of Matiti, a very interesting organization that's actually is doing just that, the fearless leadership with heart. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today. And our next speaker is Anna MacMIllan. And Anna is dancing with disruptive ideas, and she's passionately curious and genuinely interested in technology, innovation, digital transformation, and technology for good and technology for people. And she's has a strong medical and technological experience, and she has spent many years and has great experience with the commercial side, which is so important for any business. And Anna has a superpower. She's a super connector. So that's something that we all need, and it's a very valuable skill, very valuable superpower that if you need a connection, Anna is probably definitely gonna be able to help you out. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So our topic today is virtual connecting with people virtually. That's what we have been doing for the past months, and already have gained more experience that probably many of us have dreamed of, or maybe have liked it. But there are definitely some advantages to it. My personal is, as I'm saying, connecting with all of you today.
Yeah.
And connecting people from different even regions and across geographies, working with people across geographies. And we have put three topics to discuss today. So how do we do the commercial side, how we connect with our clients, with our prospective clients, with people who might be interested in our business, and how we do teamwork virtually, and how we network. All right. And before we start, we would also like to see who we have today. So if you guys, Cardella, if you could start the polls.
Yeah.
we can already start,
Yeah.
talking, but if you could start the poll, so we just have the introduction on the other side, right? Yeah, very interested to see who is here with us today. So go ahead and put, I think the co-hosters cannot vote, cannot put their answers to the polls. So go ahead and put it to the polls, but we are such a small group, so you can just tell us where you're from and what kind of business are you in. I'll put it in the chat.
Hello? Yeah? You hear me?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I'm Elizabeth Silva from Mexico.
Wow.
I'm starting my business here in Dubai with Tres Leches Cakes. My family is a business family since 35 years ago in Mexico. We have around 40 cake stores there. My mom owns 5 of each 40 cake stores, and since before I live here in Dubai, I live in Chile. So since
Great.
there, I
So
wanted to.
I'm sorry, kunt u even draußen bleiben? Ich habe einen Call here. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
It's okay. Happens all the time. Sorry for
Yeah.
that. It's my second one.
Yeah, I understand. I
You
also
just
have
arrived,
one.
slamming the doors. Thank you so much. So do we have the results of the polls for now? Cardella, was she?
I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing your story.
I posted the question.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, okay, we don't have the polls. So, you're welcome to write in the chat where you're from and what you're doing, and we would proceed with our panelists, and we start with the commercial side, with the customer outreach. So, Anna, Charul, what would you say? How do we connect, build, and deepen relationship when we actually don't go out to our people and meet them personally?
I'm happy to go, Anna, and then perhaps, you add and share your thoughts. So, everything that's happening around us, Nataliya, what's beautiful is there is not a segment of society, there is not a sector in the communities of business, there isn't a community or a region around the world which is being impacted. I think humanity and mankind at large has been impacted. So, talking about bringing about a change is so phenomenal right now, because everybody is in the receiving end. Everybody is wanting to hear what it takes to evolve. So, in running my own business, we were impacted as much as anybody here in the panel today or in the discussion today was. And how we kind of looked at engaging or nurturing that relationship with our customers virtually was based on 3 parameters, right? One was the frequency of communication. How often are we checking in? How often are we engaging? How often are we connecting with our clients? And when you say connecting, it needs to be meaningful and relevant engagement. You can't be, bombarding their inboxes or their SMSs or WhatsApps with irrelevant information, which I'm sure they're receiving many folds any which ways. So I think having authentic, relevant, and meaningful check-in with your customers on a consistent frequency is what has been very, very instrumental in our business. The other thing, and the second part of the puzzle, is empathy. I think for us, what has been phenomenal again is communicating with our clients and customers with empathy. And I think, again, it's such a beautiful place to be in. Difficult, challenging, but beautiful, because we are all on the same playing ground. So empathizing and understanding, the needs of the customers, and hoping and pivoting your business in a way that it offers value to the customers, I think is instrumental. And last but not the least, I think it's a value add. So utilizing, it doesn't have to be something which is breaking your business down in terms of offering things which are not sustainable for your business model. It's about adding value to your client and customers in these times of need. And, you know, the examples are many. It would vary from customer to customer, industry to industry, business sector to business sector, but it needs to be relevant. It needs to be authentic. You need to empathize. You need to communicate with the customers. And I think that will help us, you know, do the overhaul in terms of managing and deepening that relationship with the customers. Anna, your thoughts?
Yes, definitely. Just to add a little bit to what you're saying is, I think there are two things that we need to look at. And one of them is that communicating virtually on a scenario of a pandemic is one thing, and communicating virtually on a sustainable kind of situation is really our next step.
Yeah.
We have, and due to the pandemic, so many things have accelerated in certain ways that probably there's no way back. And when you see where we are going towards and how things are moving, it's very important for brands not only to, you know, take the time to understand all the different sets of tools that Charul has shared, but also to try to engage in very meaningful conversations. I think we were coming from a reality where brands used to manage a very unilateral kind of communication. And this is a moment that has opened gates for consumers and customers to be part of the conversation. So when we talk about the pandemic, I think one of the things that I can relate to is that there are brands that have done it very well to say, you know what, we are setting aside, okay, our sales targets for this month or for this year, and we want to be there for you. And those who did it, and those who did it really meaning that, I think are going to reap the good fruits in the long run, right? There are so many others who did not, but again, I think I want to focus in this meaningful conversations, but conversations that cannot stop because we are just going back to work. You know, or just because we move the setting of working from home, those conversations cannot stop. We have pulled a very big rabbit out of the hat, and that rabbit is not going back. The consumer is not going to accept unilateral communications anymore. So it's right up to us to use the tools that we have to continue building brands and building relations virtually.
Yeah. If I may quickly add to that, because I think, Nataliya, that's very, very relevant. And thanks, Anna, for sharing your thoughts. Two of the examples, because, you know, the relevance and, you know, the improvisation that we need to take into account now in new world, Anna, like you highlighted, is essential. And two examples which I was recently, you know, privy to is Nike. It's amazing how they're coming out, you know, with free workouts, you know, for household people, and they're publishing it on TikTok. And, you know, so Nike is a brand that we relate to as a fitness brand, as something that enables you to be fitter, to be more agile, to be, you know, physically active. And rather than just focusing on driving their sales and targets, like Anna pointed out, they are also leveraging this opportunity to engage with their customers meaningfully and deepening those relationships. The other example is Disneyland. They are doing virtual tours and ride videos for people with families who are stuck at home and unable to go out and have those fantastic moments in the real world scenario. They're offering those opportunities virtually. And I think this is what will set the tone for businesses to come and for brands to continue to be authentic and engage with their customers. So there are many, many examples, and I can go on, but I think I just felt these two are relevant because these two are known brands, and I'm sure everybody present here would relate to them. So yeah, over to you, Nataliya.
Another thing, if I can add to the example that you are mentioning, is very interesting how the communications have moved to a one-person setting towards a community setting. Brands are much more concerned about building communities at this point and working whatever their new values are, but within community settings. And that's a very interesting change of a paradigm.
Totally.
very interesting and very interesting aspects that you are highlighting here. So on the one side, we are all on the same boat, like we are more united on the setting that we are working at. And on the other side, these brands that can reinvent themselves, that can look forward, move forward. I love the visualization of this rabbit that you cannot put him back into the head. It's already out of the head. We have to live in this new reality. And but do we also have any challenges with this new normal? That what would be some of the things that we have to think of, to account for as challenges in this new virtual world, and connecting to people virtually and to our customers virtually?
I'm happy to respond, and obviously welcome Anna for her thoughts. I think the challenges, while there are some generic challenges there that are laid out for every business, every woman entrepreneur, every organization leadership, there will be those sector and product specific challenges. So let's focus on what lies ahead for people and leaders in general. And I think there is no shying away from the impact on revenue generation and the costs that you have to take care of in terms of running your business. So I think leaderships are having to navigate through a broad range of very interrelated issues. I think that span from keeping your employees and customers safe, because that is very, very relevant and important and priority right now. But it's also shoring up, cash and ensuring liquidity in your operations, right? Reorienting your operations and pivoting as needed to keep yourselves relevant and sustain in the market. And, there are many support programs, government interventions, and, initiatives that you have to, or compliance checks that you have to be mindful of and adhere to. So, all of this put together is literally a paradigm shift for leaders to manage their business from how they used to in the past to where the businesses are growing. So from cost to employees to the, the environments that's changing around us, there is a host of challenges that one needs to account for in shaping their business forward. And that's exactly has been our experience in managing our business. For example, we deliver a lot of programs which were in-person interventions, and in-person to the point that this is, coaching and mentorship, and, one-on-one discussion and hand-holding with leaders. And when COVID hit us 6 months back, it was almost unreal, and everybody just wanted to wait. The clients wanted to wait because this was something perhaps they didn't want to venture into, and they were hoping against hope that this is something which will while away in a couple of weeks and we resume our normal life. But we were all in for a very pleasant surprise. And I think like they say, right, any crisis brings with itself many opportunities of change and of enhancement in the way we function. And it's amazing, Nataliya, and I'm sure, Anna, that's your experience as well, how many people have opened up to new ways of working as against, from fixed mindset to, growth mindset is what I call it. Because really the approach in the past was, fixed. I work with this mentor, I meet at this time, I, and this is how I function. And that's really, constrained in the way you function. And I think in many ways, last few months and the virtual world we live in has enabled the growth mindset. So over to you, Anna. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Anna, I'm afraid you're muted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anna, we can't hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was saying, I think we have gone through several challenges too. We are, part of our company is also in the event industry. So we are still very challenged in that aspect. But yeah, I think we have shifted in so many other ways. And I would go to very small things like, okay, we have shifted the need or the illusion of having control on what was happening with our organization and every member within. to reach a moment where we could understand that actually without the extreme management or micromanagement in some cases, we could be as effective, right? That's a little bit of one thing, right? Another thing that I can tell you we faced was the fact that we got to realize that actually we were not really ready to work from home as much as we thought we would, okay? And one thing that's really important to mention in this is that I think people has become so much more tolerant to, okay, not having the right audio, having to wait because the connections were not great. I mean, for us here in Dubai, in the UAE, it's a very new sort of setting because we were not having access to this in the past years. So I think we have all as a team have come together to be more understanding, to be more comprehensive of, more understanding and more tolerant, okay, of the different challenges that it means to reframe how to work from home and how to move the operations forward. I'm not sure if Nataliya is there. But there,
I'm here. I was just having some technical challenges, so I'm back. But I heard everything, and everything is, we are seeing here some thumbs up. So dear participants, dear listeners, today you're welcome to share your reactions and put some, like if you have questions, we will go to the questions at the end, but you are very welcome to participate and give reactions and say, whether you like it or not. I love the ideas that, COVID has opened up so much of the mindset and turned it into the growth mindset, and that we thought we are ready to work from home, but then we realized that that much work from home and that little of actual personal interaction is difficult to handle. Thank you so much. So we move to the second topic of our discussion today, this work from home interaction with our teams, with our employees, and with the stakeholders within our organizations outside. How did that work? What were some of the maybe highlights that you realized when you started working as a remote team?
I think this is going to be a little different in terms of responding, because I think each business is so unique again, right? There's no set in stone answer for that. I strongly believe that these team relationships or the teamwork and the synergies within the individuals and the team would be primarily dictated by the culture in the organization. Because let's face it, these were the same individuals who continued to work together in a different setting. They were sitting in the same office, they were, exchanging notes, they were talking to one another, they're exchanging, I don't know, their lunches or whatever. But now they're in the virtual scenario, but it's the same people. So how they act and how they behave is dictated by the culture in the organization. And now, because they're in their personal settings, it also is dictated by their personal values, because there's not somebody looking and overseeing you all the time in your operations. You're not having to be managed by a supervisor or manager, making sure that you clock in, you clock out, that you're taking your break as per, the 30 minutes that's agreed on your contract. So I think personal values play a very, very important role here as well. And then very relevant for now in the COVID situation is your circumstances, right? Now, if you are an employee who is the most dedicated employee in the team and who works relentlessly to deliver results, but you're also a mother of 2 or 3 kids, right? And now you are having to work in a setting or a surrounding where you want to perform your best, but there are distractions around you for natural reasons, right? And this is not, or this should not be the criteria of reassessing your commitment to your role, or your contribution to the organization, because you are now in a circumstance which is beyond your control. So I think it's also drawing fine line between the controllables and the uncontrollable, what's in your control and what you can't. And what you can't control, then finding and improvising beautiful, easy, simple ways of working around them. And this is a relationship between the team and the manager or the organization. This is not something that you can say, hey, I know you have 3 kids. We like you very much. We are here to support, but we'll do nothing. So, you know, that could be a simple approach saying, we support you, support you, support you. We're here to support you, you know, just to say the right words and then not, you know, walk the talk or not act the words. And I think that's where, you know, the penny drops. So I strongly endorse that, you know, to ensure good virtual work as leaders, as organizations, let's be authentic, let's be real. For me, what's really important is, like, for my team as well, I will be vulnerable. Like Nataliya, you had your little boy coming, running and going, right? It did not make you frown or fret. It's a reality. It's a circumstance that you're in. So being vulnerable and accepting, and you will be surprised how many people relate to that. But if you fend it off, you will find everybody else restricting themselves as well. So I think, you know, being authentic, being vulnerable to your team, being relevant, obviously, you know, be focused and business driven is what is going to add value in terms of enhancing and nurturing those relationships in a team.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Thank you. Anna, do you want to add anything?
No, I think basically she said very much everything that we were discussing even previously. The only thing that I would definitely insist is that I do believe that a lot of teams, even though it sounds paradoxical, have connected on a deeper level through the experience of working from home. Because a lot more of deeper conversations had happened between people, between colleagues, that perhaps they didn't know that, okay, he has a sick child at home, or she's facing these difficulties or those others. But through this, a lot of conversations had to be open. And we get to see our colleagues now on a more human level and get to understand so much better. And everyone is so much more comfortable on their own shoes, which makes people get more committed to the purpose of the whole organization.
Yeah. Can I share an example here, Nataliya? And this is something that's sticking out in my head. I recently read it on LinkedIn. So Zomato, I'm hoping a lot of us know Zomato, right? So Dipenta Goyal, who's the co-founder and CEO of Zomato, recently announced period leave. This is for women in the organization. Now, I know there are certain countries which have provision for, you know, certain kinds of leaves and whatnot. But in Southeast Asia, this was a big challenge. It was a big taboo to even talk about it. You know, people and female and ladies in the organization will have to find a way to convey if they're not well because of that reason, which is biological, which is natural, which is real. So, you know, I think this is where the vulnerability and authenticity and relevance comes into play. And if we as leaders walk the talk, understand the pulse of the business and react to what needs to be done to manage our teams, even though virtually, it will take our relationship and, you know, organizational values to a different level altogether. And there are many such examples, but I think this one just sticks out and is relevant for the audience here as well. And those are the pivots that we need to bridge those gaps between ourselves and the teams in this virtual world, I think.
Yeah, great. It's amazing how we come with a whole personality now to work, right? And everyone feels more comfortable about it, because it just doesn't make sense to lock part of the personality at home, as many of us, especially in corporate positions, were doing when we were going to the office. Thanks a lot. All right, so let's go to the third topic of our today's discussion, to the networking. And let's share our experiences of the networking. What has changed? Maybe some things became more accessible or different. What was the experience of just connecting to people in the networks. Cheryl, you were telling us an example of events, how the event industry has changed.
Sure. Yeah, Nataliya, thank you. And you know, this is something that makes me smile, right? I know that there are business realities to the changes that are happening. There are certain sectors which are impacted more than the other. But I also am a strong and a firm believer that every crisis presents many opportunities. I think it's the shift of skills, shift of upskilling that needs to happen in terms of, what we need to unlearn and relearn, where do we need to upskill, right? But having said all of that, in the current situation, in terms of networking, I mean, boy, oh boy, the smaller organizations, the organizations which could never think of engaging with a certain level of influencers, speakers, leaders, are being, are daring to do that now because they can afford to. They're not having to create, capexes and huge budgets for an annual event, which will take away a certain percentage of their revenue, because that's how much it would take for you to organize an event at that scale, right? To make your event more impactful and engaging and something that people will remember. So the creating an impact and positioning your brand has taken a 360-degree turn, because you could organize an event as a small or a medium-sized organization as impactfully as a large organization in today's day and age. I think we've all been put on a level ground, and this is the same level of play or same ground of play for all organizations. So I think access to speakers, controlling the costs as you organize meaningful, relevant interventions, engaging with your client groups and putting relevant content in front of them at a click of a finger hasn't ever been any easier than it is right now. I'm mindful, and we had this conversation before, that yes, there is an impact on certain industries, but I'm very, very sure those industry players, those market leaders are already ahead of the game. They're thinking of newer, better ways of engaging with the client in the post-COVID world. So Anna, because you are somebody who specializes in this field, let's hear from you on your thoughts on this.
Well, first of all, I think when we are talking about networking is a very wide topic. Networking does not only, subscribe to MICE events. Mm-hmm. Networking is deeper by far than that. And networking is something that comes within that intrinsic need that we have as humans to be connecting and to multiply the connections that we go through our lives. Right. So I think networking has proven to be a very important tool during these times. And these times had also worked as a thermometer on how well have we been networking in the past. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of us had to rely on who did we have on our phone, whose numbers did we have or not. And networking actually is the product or the right byproduct of a good networking is to be able to have those right numbers in your speed dial if needed, or at least in your phone, right? True. So I think when it comes to networking, networking is definitely one of the 7 tools that I always identify as necessary for entrepreneurs. I believe networking is something that we have to train in. We are not necessarily all born great networkers. And in that training, I think training to network virtually is a new step ahead of our networking skills. As she said, actually, you need to upscale. Yes, you need to. And I think when it comes to virtual networking, there are a lot of opportunities that have opened up, bringing people of different levels together on a more democratic basis, I would say, where you don't have a stage and where suddenly that speaker is not an unapproachable person, So I think there are a lot of, again, I would insist on this, very valuable conversations that are happening and taking place or initiating because of the different facilities of networking online or networking virtually. And another thing that's really valuable is that now we see or feel that our time is more, you know, than what it was before. Before, to get into one networking event would take half of your day. Right now, you can spend 1 hour, you can be very effective networking and you know, have results and even profit translated. But it all depends on how you train yourself to do so.
Totally.
Yes, thank you. Interesting. Anna, do you have 3 tips of how to become a better online networker, comparing even for someone who is good networker? Like what would be like the pivoting differences that how you can be successful in networking online?
Well, yeah, I would think that their words or sometimes we give too much value of being spontaneous. I would say, on the contrary, be prepared. You know,
Great.
first of all, have some agenda, have some idea on who are you going to meet in that networking space. You can't just go, you know, because there's no washroom to go and hide in the washroom. You know, you're just networking. So yeah, be prepared, know who you are going to meet, know who you need to meet, you know, and have a clear, you know, understanding of what's your objective when you are going to that networking space. Because you can't just land on a networking space and be effective if you have no clue of what you expect to take from that. And what can you give? Because that's very important too. What can you give to that networking space or to that other person that you're interested in networking? Because the first step for that other person to open up in a networking space is what I can give you, not what I can get from you. So yeah,
True.
I would think let's not improvise, because online does not allow too much of that. And yeah, being spontaneous is a little bit overrated.
Thanks. Thank you so much. And now we have a quarter of an hour left in our session, so maybe we go ahead and try to practice what Anna just gave us as some of the tips to network. So you're welcome to share your networking experience, maybe a good networking, I don't know, event, or some of your contribution that you want to share in the chat. You're very welcome to post your questions and or ask your questions live. If you want to turn on your camera so we can see each other, it's great. And we have one question here, so I will go ahead and read it. It's from Mohammed. Do you think that connecting virtually can still leverage the human connection more efficiently? Because at the end, it's still the humans, but connecting virtually. So how is it important? How is this important to keep in mind? And what is important to keep in mind in the virtual setting? So can the virtual connection leverage human connection to become more efficient?
I would say yes.
Me too.
Yeah, I would say totally, totally. Just an example probably that goes more towards your industry. How many more clear connections are you having with the candidates or with prospects, you know, through virtual tools rather than in person sometimes? And how people is so much more comfortable right now in opening their cameras and opening up in certain, you know, levels, even when we have to discuss, let's say, what are your career expectations or goals or anything. Whereas when you do that on a live interview, many people get nervous, they don't perform. So I think there are a lot of things that are very valuable if we are going to use them correctly. I do believe that on a virtual space, we are still at an infancy when we talk about interactions, human interactions. I do believe there is a lot more of potential. And if you think about it, a lot of families, okay, for a lot of families, this virtual connection means sticking together as a family. And that's the reality for so many of us as expats, where we can still feel close to our moms or dads or our family because we are able to see them on a video call. So what's the importance of that, and how to leverage that towards, let's say, a brand or towards growing as an organization? I would say it only depends on the leadership and how much vision they have and how clear is the purpose of using, because at the end of the day, for me, any platform is just a tool, and it would depend on how you use this tool. But if the purpose is good, people is going to still jump on board, and networking in person or virtually is not going to matter as far as the purpose that you're pursuing as a collective is sticking you all together.
Yeah. If I may just add to this, I think it's also very important to stay relevant, right? So yes, we have the platform, we are purpose driven, we have a vision where we want to go, but we want to be relevant to the audience. And here, if the audience is human beings, now human beings can be your clients, can be your vendors and suppliers, can be your family, can be your friends and colleagues, can be your team members. It's humans by the end of the day, all of them, right? So staying relevant and authentic is very, very important, because by the end of the day, if you have, let's say, Zoom access or whichever tool you use in the organization, or your family to connect, right? And if you are not showing up, or if you're showing up with nothing to contribute, then it's not going to be meaningful. Like you would show up in a board meeting or a team meeting and you're not prepared, or you show up late and you have nothing to contribute, you're not collaborating with the team, and it will be as ineffective in person as it is in the virtual world. So I think showing up, owning up, contributing, collaborating, if we focus on those areas, regardless of the platform of choice, or the size and the type of audience, which is the human connection we're talking about, it will render itself very effective. But we have to show up, we have to own up, we have to contribute.
And the other side, if I just may add to your comment, Cheryl, the other side of this medal is that our attention is, there's so much more alternatives to spending time in that not interesting meeting or in that disengaging, event that we just leave. So it's a lot more important to contribute and to give the focused attention, be able to receive that focused attention on the other side, because otherwise you just lose your participants, your board members, your audience a lot more easily than you would if they were sitting in the same room.
Nataliya, when you go into a certain organization and there is, let's say, a team meeting that happens every morning, right? It's by default, certain seats are taken by certain people, right? Let's say the manager sits in a certain place and her secretary sits in a certain place and I go sit, that's my favorite seat. All that has changed. Everybody is at the same play level right now.
Right.
So I am as, let's say, anxious as my manager is being on this call, for example, right? Or I am as curious as any other colleague sitting anywhere in whichever part of the world with whoever they have around them, cats, dogs, mother, fathers, brothers, sisters, children. So we all have been shaken out of our comfort zone, if I may, right? But if we continue to utilize the tools that we have on hand to connect, if we contribute, if we show up, and to everything else that Anna and yourself said, I don't see any reason why it will not enable us to establish that connect.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, contributions, comments? Ashley is writing, determination, respect, and dedication is important in, I guess, virtual networking, the world of virtual network. Thank you, Ashley.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I've found that just learning how to interact differently, because you've only got this tiny little screen, you can't be as stiff as you would if you were in the office. When we're sitting down at our tables and our computer desks and whatever, we can come across as very stiff. So I found that it's really important. I got rid of my desk, put it away, pulled out a great big chair and I try to get engaged and really change my body language, because if I'm speaking from a stage, I can really do some amazing stuff. But when I've only got this little screen and we're all stiff, I found that it was a massive barrier to connections, and I needed to just completely change everything so that I could interact better. And I found it's been astounding how much more I've got out of my clients this way.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot just change, you know, like put the same performance on the virtual tool that you would do on stage, because it's just, I like to say that this virtual world is not the, you know, like limited inferior version of the real world, but it's different. So if we find, like, if we reinvent the way we interact and we act, you know, like get rid of this desk and just make space for yourself. There are many different ways to express yourself in this Zoom. And what I also see, like when we see people, when people are happy to turn on their cameras, that you see actual faces, you see actual facial expressions, and it's also something that adds to value as a speaker, and makes this participation contribution so much more personal in certain aspects.
Absolutely. And I think this is it. I think we've gone from having stages that were limited to having a world stage. And I think it's limited in another way, but it's learning how to utilize it.
I
Totally.
think it changed a little bit also in the aspect that, again, in the past, or especially in in-person interactions, actually you don't need to be as focused as you need to be when you're on a Zoom call or on a virtual interaction. It requires so much more of actually using certain senses and practicing more attentive, listening, more intentional, being there present. Because otherwise, I've been to so many meetings where people is on the phone while other people is talking, right? However, if you want to maximize a meeting that you're attending virtually, you can't be doing that, right? Because it's obvious that you're not there. And again, on the other hand, as a speaker, I would say that it enriches a lot to have that democracy, because you actually get to hear the audience, you get to talk to them. And before, you were just sharing your message, was a unidirectional sort of communication, and you were going back home with exactly what you brought to the table. However, this is a moment, I would say, where people would still contact you after they hear or listen to what you have just said. They contact you on different platforms, and the communication is taken forward to different levels. And I think that's the way we grow, right? So I find it very valuable. And I find it that one of the most enriching things is that we have gone back to very basics, and being attentive, being present, and listening, active listening are those three elements that for me are very important, that are just making a very, good comeback.
Thank you, Anna. Cardella, do we have time for another comment, or do you want us to finish up? It's 4.
Yeah, we still have one more time.
So,
do you have a question, Ashley? Sally?
No, I want to thank you, because all the points are so much, clear, and especially about the 3 tips are very valuable. And thank you again, and looking forward to apply what we have received as information today. All the best, and thanks.
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
How about you, Lisa?
Sorry?
How about you, Lisa? Is there anything that you want to ask?
No, just say thank you to all of you. I'm just like learning and starting this, so I'm so like getting a lot of info. I have to I don't know what it's called. My English is not so good, but thank you so much, Lisa, especially to Anna,
Gracias,
But,
Lisa.
sí, muchas gracias. Thank you.
We look forward to see you in Dubai, Lisa.
Yes, for sure. You have to try our tres leches. They are so yummy.
Is there anything from you, Anne, Sally, Mariam, Reno, Jack, Mohammed?
All right, I guess not. So from my side, I definitely am taking along with me more than what I have brought. I have learned a lot, and just talking about these things, this online connection, we see how much we have learned during this short COVID time, but on the other side, we see how much is still there to learn and to explore and to connect and to reinvent. So the world is beautiful, and even if it's different, there are so many opportunities that this is something that we should concentrate on and engage with each other. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nataliya, Charul, and Anna. Thank you for being here today. And yeah, it was a very insightful session.
Thank you, Cardella, for the opportunity. Thank you, audience, for your attendance and your time and your questions and comments. Thanks, Nataliya. You were a wonderful host. Anna, it was such a pleasure speaking together with you and sharing insights. Keep going. Be as inspirational as possible for yourself and for others. And you know, we as mankind have survived worse. This is easily conquerable. So, you know, high five to all of you all. And I'm sure there will be times in near future when we will be discussing something very different and relevant, and how we overcome this. So to beautiful times ahead.
You were talking about disruptions. You see the door. This is, you know, my disruptions.
Yeah, but he's standing quietly and he's not disturbing you. So amazing.
Yeah, so
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you very much, Cardella, for this opportunity. Thank you, Nataliya, for moderating the session. Charul, a pleasure sharing with you. And to all the audience, thank you very much for spending this time with us. If you have further questions, or if you need any sort of support from me to help you navigate these times and to help you adapt your teams virtually, please feel free to come. We are offering free support to SMEs, and we are happy to make sure that we are there and that you're not alone during this process. We can do all of this together. And well, as Charles very well said, we are, you know, as species, ready to do much more than this. And we are going to do it as far as we are ready to go through smart collaborations. And for that, we need to open conversations. So don't be afraid to open that conversation that you have pending. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Ladies.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cardella. Thank you, audience. It was a great event. Thank you so much.
Bye, ladies. Thanks, hey.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nataliya. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Reno, Sally, Marianne.